and welcome to this prodigious event. The vision for this event was to not only provide insight into various fields like sustainability, entrepreneurship, and well-being, but also to give the attendees a chance to meet and interact with the experts and be mentored by them via the mentoring walk.
As workers, as well as leaders, there is a unique opportunity to restructure the workspace, to make room for balance, for personal over professional, and to allow.
So they say मैं आज spa गई थी या मैंने blow dry कराया, nails करा के आई हूँ, lashes, and I thought और मैं भी यही सोचती थी कि यही self love है. You know, I love myself. I'm getting a nice blow dry, feels so good. Then I dive deeper. You know, so my kids are growing. They are getting to preteens, and I am going through a lot of emotional turmoil with them. I started reading for myself that what is this self love, yeah, that I need to give myself so that I can give it. I can give it to them then, because until I love myself, I can never love anyone else. And I realized that self-love is something as simple as, you know, putting your feet up, sipping coffee, watching, doing nothing. At least nothingness is self-love. That you don't need to do anything for that moment. Just be in yourself. कि shopping वाला इतना अच्छा आंसर दिया ना, क्योंकि मैं भी यही सोचती थी कि this is self-love. I love myself. I am shopping for myself.
And Harpreet, I want to add to that, cutting to it, all these activities are there. You know, when you're just kind to yourself, and sometimes, you know, we need to hear it. We always look to hear from it. So my recommendation is go in front of the mirror, give yourself a tight hug and say, I love you.
True.
Just do it, you know, the day you brush your teeth daily. Just do it for 40 days and you will be surprised about how self-love sprouts in you.
So after I read this, you know, have tea, put your feet up, so I started doing it. I felt so funny about myself for some time that what the hell why am I doing this? No one watching me. You know, because we're so used to the whole camera, to record, to have a photo, put it on Instagram, that I'm doing self-love. And that's when I realized that is self-love. That there's no one around, it's only for me that I'm doing. Coming to Doc. I have a very interesting question for you. I lost a lot of weight recently, which the gram has witnessed. And my metabolic activity has really improved. I do everything that I want to do and put in my mouth. How is it correlating with self-confidence? What does metabolic rate got to do with it? I've been reading a lot about it, so I thought you are the right person. Please tell us what's.
So when it comes to talking about metabolic balance is bringing a good balance in your own metabolism, wherein you are not just focused on, you know, about the weight thing. Weight has been there because there was some hormonal imbalance inside. That is what the metabolic balance program is all about. So though it's just to introduce you, the metabolic balance is a German nutrition program, and we as nutritionists have been certified and we are practicing it here. What it helps us understand is that weight gain is because of the hormonal disturbances, and the moment you resolve these disturbances by nourishing your body well, when you give your body the food that it's looking for. हमारे घर में क्या है, हम रोटी के साथ सब्जी, हाँ परांठी, सब्जी में सब आलू, गोभी आलू, मटर आलू, बैंगन आलू, जब जाके आलू. And people think because they're eating vegetables and a bread slice or a roti, even if it's a bran roti, they're eating very healthy. But mind you, for people, suppose for me, like I have a sedentary lifestyle because I sit and talk the entire day. Even if I'm not moving, so I don't need my 2 rotis, 2 biscuits, 2 evening. Even if I'll eat less of roti, but till the time I'm alive, my hair is growing, my nails are growing, my blood is getting made. Science का lesson start हुआ था. We were told proteins are the building blocks.
Yes.
सब भूल गए. अभी किसी को प्रोटीन याद ही नहीं है. 0.8 to 1 gram per kg body weight requirement है हमारा. Suppose somebody is 60 kilos, 0.8 becomes 48 grams. अब हम तो सोचते हैं एक कटोरी दाल खा ली, एक कटोरी दही हो गई, हो गया पूरा. But when you actually get 1 katori dal has only 8 grams of protein. So you need to eat sufficient amount of dal, sufficient amount of dahi to make your body get the nourishment that it's looking for. And then yes, you need your vegetables, you need your fruit, you need your cereal, as complex cereals. अभी सब लोग एक घंटा एक्सरसाइज करने जाते हैं जिम, वो प्रोटीन के इतने सारे डब्बे लेके आते हैं घर में. This is pre, this is post workout. Please raise hands. Let me know how many of you of you had your classes on the 3rd floor in school?
Oh, Mama son.
How many times did you climb the 3rd floor and down? Do you remember?
Like forever, all the time, running, jumping.
Forever. Was your mom giving you special protein powders before climbing the stairs, after climbing the stairs? Hello, WHO recommends 1 hour of workout for everyone for good health. And through the day, 24 घंटे में 8 घंटे तो सोने में चले गए, 1 घंटा हमने एक्सरसाइज कर ली, बाकी टाइम में हम बैठे हैं, इधर ड्राइविंग में बैठे हैं, घर में सोफा में बैठे हैं, वर्क प्लेस में बैठे हैं. How much energy are you expending that you need all those protein powders? You don't need them, but yes, you need proteins from your food. So having, chicken salad and a roti, or a dal sabzi roti, or a dahi sabzi roti is a better idea to have fulfilled meals. And when you are in better hormonal health, better health, physical health, mental health improves, your confidence improves. You're more in control of yourself. So as Buddha says, the first thing that you can control is putting into your mouth. If you can control that, you can control everything.
And our Buddha telling us that. Any questions, anyone?
And here I just have to emphasize on one more point, so that because they're all women, I see large population. Please, just for your information, the period pain is not normal. In case there is a period pain, please make sure that your hormonal health is corrected, and you can sort it out. It's not necessary that the first day of the periods you have to take off. Though Spain has recently announced the menstrual day leave, to combat with the pain, but it's not normal. It should not happen. A little discomfort is okay. And even those who are going to the IVF clinics and all that, that also started with what you put into your mouth. The frequent eating meal pattern brought in by the US brought along this hormonal havoc. We were never a country dealing with conception, with this kind of population. But today you see an IVF clinic opening at every nook and corner of the city. Right? So it's all about, we are made from what we eat. So eat what's good for you. Take care of your health.
Doctor, we will listen to you.
Thank you. Thank you, speakers, and thank you, Harpreet, for starting that wonderful discussion. And we will move on to the welcome address by Dr. Sangeeta Reddy, India Chair G20 Empower, and past President FICCI, also the Joint Managing Director for Apollo Hospitals.
India is taking G20 concept and ideologies outside of the boardrooms and the meeting rooms and bringing it to the people and the population, because only when the population is touched are we really making impact. So Jan Bhagyadari is a methodology to translate the work of G20 to the population and to seek people's involvement, participation, and ideas and solutions towards the concepts that we are propagating or working together as one world.
With the present condition of the world economy, it is important to throw light on issues that are impacting this, and also on what can be done better. Our next panel discussion is about women leadership making an impact, which will be moderated by Stuti Jala.
So hi guys, I run a company called The Mom's Co. And personally for me, it was a journey that started from my own daughters, right? They had a concern, and as a mother, I wanted nothing but the best for my daughters. And when I saw nobody catering to it, right, and the biggest question was babies and mothers and pregnancy is a really large concern amongst women. And why is it that there's no big company looking forward to create something in that segment? And once nobody was creating it, I'm like, I refuse to budge and use not great quality products for my daughter, and that's what got me to start the company. So personally I feel, and I do interact with a lot of other women founders as well, I think most of it starts from being passionate about something. You're truly passionate about something, and your passion takes you forward to translate that dream that you have, the passion that you have, into a real-time business.
Your thoughts, Nidhi? So I grew up in a Marwari background where everything's about running businesses, and we were 4 sisters. So we had no choice but to join our family businesses. We joined the family businesses, then found our footing, then started our own businesses on the side, and then grew it. So didn't know anything else except starting businesses. So the constant passion to achieve and work hard was instilled right from the beginning. So workaholic since 13, and at 41 I've still work 12 hours a day and I love it. So I don't know what I'd do with my life if I wasn't an entrepreneur.
And Shailaja, I'm going to ask you both from an entrepreneur perspective and, because you play a very key role on having women in the workforce, so your thoughts on that and, because you run an executive search firm.
So in my case, I think it was more, I was a corporate employee, a corporate drone. Hated my job, hated my boss. I've got Marwari genes, so there's always an entrepreneur sitting inside you. But I think I became an entrepreneur not really by design but default. I really got sick of my job, and I just felt at some point in time that I wanted to just take time off and raise children. And that lasted like 3 months. And then my husband said, like, please get out of the house because you're very bright, you were at the top of your class, and you're sitting at home and not really raising children. Children, we have a family, women work, get out there and do something with your life. And I think it was really my mother-in-law who was sick of having me at home, and my husband who really wanted me to get out of the house with all this mother-in-law, daughter-in-law fighting stops, and that's how I ended up becoming an entrepreneur. So really, it was just...
Accidental entrepreneur.
I'm an accidental entrepreneur. But I realized once I became an entrepreneur how much I loved it. And for me, I think it's a personal dream to see more and more and more women become entrepreneurs. It's not just about women in leadership. I'm a very, very big proponent of diversity in the workforce, and I think I've been a huge, the firm and I have been a huge, we've really pushed the diversity agenda in India. We've put a lot of women on boards. We've put a lot of women in top jobs. But I think my dream really is to see more women entrepreneurs, because I can't tell you how much I love being an entrepreneur. My own boss, no one to answer to except myself, and that's really the greatest feeling in the world. So that's what, it empowers you.
Yeah. And Payal, my next question is for you. What do you see as an emerging trend for women leadership across the world? Because you're
Of course. So I think, something very significant has happened in the world of the past couple of years, which is COVID, and I think there's been a major shift in the way we work now, in the way we see our workspaces. I think the first emerging trend for me would be, the shift in the way we operate in companies now. Of course, we have work-life balance, we have work from home, and I think it's a trend that's going to continue for tomorrow. And I think it's something that really enables women also to do their best, because you have the best of both worlds. I remember during COVID when we had that immediate lockdown, we were all stuck at home, we're running our enterprises, we're running our companies, we're managing our families, we're managing the staff, we're managing the kitchen. In that sense, I feel women are just fantastic, and I'm such a fan of all of these women entrepreneurs that we have across the table. But I think that is one, prominent trend which is definitely going to continue in the long run, and I think that it should. The second thing I think is, I'm seeing a lot more women really breaking barriers in non-traditional roles. So we have a lot more women in finance, there are a lot more women in tech. When you look at the defense sector sometimes, we see these women pilots. I was with this young Air India pilot who did the longest hauling flight from Bangalore to San Francisco, crossing the North Pole. These are stories which I don't think were possible maybe even a decade ago. So I think there's a lot that's moving forward, and moving forward very fast. So
anybody would like to add that, or shall I ask my next question?
No, I also personally believe that women are born better leaders than men, because I think they have a lot more compassion as well. So it's important for us to encourage more and more women in leadership roles, not only not only in our own organizations, but I think in political roles, and I think in every sphere, because it's just going to help. It's not only good for their personal growth, but I think it's good for the growth of the economy as a whole. So I think it's very, very important, because right now we are not tapping the potential as much as it should be tapped. Women have a very, very long way to go, and the kind of contribution, the kind of ideas, once they have the power to dream and to fulfill their dream, I think the world is going to be a much better place to live in.
And how do we support women at workspaces to create a healthy environment and so that they step up and take up leadership roles? Would you like to start, Shailaja?
So, I've always believed this, and I've said it in many forums, that it's the responsibility of women who are empowered, women who are sitting on this table, a lot of women who are here. It is your responsibility and your duty to empower other women. I think that it's every woman's responsibility to sort of straighten the crown on the other woman's head. Women don't do that enough, unfortunately. That's also the truth. So, and I think one empowered woman empowering just one other woman will make all the difference in the world.
I completely agree with what you just said. So in my organization, we have 30 employees. It's a smallish organization, but 70% are women. And I think, so I've been with this organization since, the time I got married. I had 2 kids. I've done my 2 maternity leaves. I've bounced back to work. And I think it's so important to set that example. I mean, till date, I leave at 5:30 because I want to be with my kids at home. I want to have dinner with them. I want to put them to bed. And then if I have to, I log back on. But I think just setting that example, in front of a team to say, what, I'm leaving first. Please feel free to, manage your own lives and just make it enabling for women who have these extra responsibilities to thrive at the workplace.
I'll just add to that, right? Like, I think the fundamental thing that all of us need to realize is that women have far larger responsibilities than what men have, right? It's outside of work that women have a lot of unsaid responsibilities a lot of times, and a lot of said responsibilities as well, right? So I think to empower, and I've seen it through my journey at the company as well, we were a 60% women workforce at the Momsco. And I think the only thing that really works for them is giving them the flexibility. As she very rightly said, right, having the flexibility to tell your team that I'm not going to be available from this time to this time, but you can contact me anytime post that or before. I'm not afraid of working in the night. Nothing stops me from working in the night, but I need these 2 hours to spend with my children to help them finish the homework or finish the household errands. So just, I think, giving them the flexibility to thrive is extremely important, and as women leaders, it's our job to understand that and to give them that flexibility.
So I can totally relate with that, what you just said, Malika. I have a 6-year-old, and yes, so those couple of hours in that evening really makes a lot of difference. And sometimes I feel that I'm leaving work, and then my team would be seeing that I'm messaging them early in the morning or late at night. But that's the reality. We have to have that balance, taking out time for ourselves. But
I just have an example to share here, right? So I'd gone to one of the events. And it was very interesting that there was this woman who was standing there working in a very large corporate firm, right? One of the top 10 corporate firms in the country. And just from her point, it just got me to remember that instance. So I was speaking to that woman, and she said, for the longest period of time, I used to live in the guilt because every time I would leave work at 5:30, while my male male partners and in the same team, they would stay on for long. And I lived in this guilt for a very long period of time till my boss called me one day, right? So a lot of times it's also inbuilt by us itself. So our boss called her one day, and he's very openly said that I love women on my team. And more than that, I love moms on my team. So she was really surprised, and she looked at him and she said that, why is that? She says, because you guys are so bloody efficient. You come in and you work, don't take a break, finish your work and you leave at 5. Versus these men are taking their smoke breaks, they're taking all the breaks. And it was on that particular day that she realized, saying she needs to get over the guilt of leaving at 5:30, because actually there's someone cheering for her because she's doing that.
I just want to add to that. In Milano, we actually shut lights at 7 o'clock. We don't want people to work later than 7 because it actually decreases efficiency. We've seen that. And of course, we also have 60% women employees. So, we understand that they need to get back home, etc. But actually, the fact is that after 7, when people are working, it's actually decreasing efficiency instead of increasing it. So,
but it's also about educating the men. Unfortunately, that's also true. I would rather give the flexibility to everyone and tell the men, go home because your wife's working and she needs to work in peace and you need to learn how to raise your children.
Yes.
So yeah, I believe that. That's the sort of culture we have in the company. Yeah. Because I think one man educated on this subject is going to educate his sons and so on and so forth. And then we're going to talk about real equality. Because we can keep fighting for equality, but equality is not going to happen if you're just going to talk about all the things we need.
Yeah.
It's also about making sure that we are given the things that we need by the other gender. So it works that way as well. So you just have to, flexibility should be for everyone. And men should also be told, go home. Learn to cook, learn to look after your parents, learn to look after your kids.
So, Nidhi, my next question is for you because I know you run a startup. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges faced by women entrepreneurs and how can we overcome those challenges?
So first, while I agree with what all the other women said, but a little bit of a contradiction because I'm running a femtech company in maternity and parenting, and I work with a lot of corporate HRs, Shelja works with many more, where we discuss about, so just to give some statistics, 70% women quit the workforce by 30 because they can't deal with the work-life imbalance. And barely 16% Indian women make it to top management, and now corporate India has 35% women. So retaining them is now an important part of P&L now for corporates. So they are also, Shelja will obviously know that they're struggling to retain their women and they want to find ways how to retain women. And this is the year for HR, for diversity and inclusion. So when I deal with a lot of the CHROs of all these multinationals, while they talk about work-life balances and flexibilities, they're also the responsibility of women to be professional and not to be entitled, and to, while they want equal pay, they also have to step up to the challenge of delivering at par. So while you want the projects, a lot of what we hear under the breath is that, they're very quick in putting on their papers. It's scary to give them leadership positions because you want them to stay in their jobs, they don't stay, and
Flight risk.
it's fight or flight.
Yeah.
So they go into the fight mode or flight. So I think while we want to empower women, but women also need, don't cry in meetings, because when one woman cries, she screws it up for a lot of us. So, you have to turn around, and so in my femtech also, like we're 20-year fast and 70% are women. And I always tell the women that, look, it's a man's world. No investors cutting us a check because we're women. So we got to turn around and survive it here. So take the project home, do it from home, but the work has to happen because nobody's giving us an extra buck. And to survive in the corporate world, you got to live by the rules. And if we have to put in 12-hour days, we're putting in 12-hour. So I reach work at 9, leave at 7. And then I'm with the girls, I have 2 girls, so I'm with them till 9, and then I work from 9 to 10 again. So that's how I manage, that's what I tell everybody else, that go back home and manage.
So I agree with what you are saying, Nidhi, because Shailaja and me were having lunch the other day, and I've heard actually some of the male CEOs telling me that, how do you deal with an all-women team? I don't want to hire women because there's so many issues. And I said, no, I've always had an all-women team, but there are disadvantages when you try and put a lot of factors in. So yes, there are obviously 2 sides to this. I want, of course, the next question to be, what are the challenges which are being faced by women entrepreneurs? Who would like to take? I mean, Nidhi, you can...
I can tell you what the challenge is. It's at least this is the first time I'm going to an investor-driven world, and there is a lot of gender bias in funding women businesses. Barely 2.5% businesses are funded which are female founded. Then I got a co-founder who's male just to show that there's a man on the table, not because the competence is required, but we needed to show there's a man on the table just to turn around, because you're presenting to men. So to turn around and show that that we're not a flight risk, we had to get a man on the table, and that was the brutal reality of life.
I just feel that, even in real time, like I don't have any investors or anything as such, but even in my own business, to be able to prove my own worth took a lot more than probably my husband or my brother or anyone else would do in a business. So it is still a challenge. I mean, women still aren't taken seriously. It's still thought that she's going to work for a bit and it's not going to happen. She's not going to last long. And when people realize that, especially when you're running a bigger business, they're like, really, you're actually working. I mean, it's still surprising for people, and it's unfortunate that one has to do so much more to be able to be taken so seriously. And the only way to overcome this challenge is by empowering more and more women, getting more and more women even in your own organization, empowering them, giving them a listening ear, understanding their issues, and making the working environment a little more inclusive. These are just small ways we can add. I mean, it's going to take a while, but at least let's start taking a step towards making the workforce, making the working environment a little more inclusive, I suggest.
Malika, your thoughts? I know because you've told me at some point of time your story.
Yeah, so I just divide the question into two parts, right? One is about what are the challenges. There are enough and more challenges, okay? So funding, you will face investors who will not want to have a conversation with you because you're a female and they don't know how long, as they said, it'll last. You go to your suppliers and they'll be looking out for a male counterpart and they'll be like, who's going to sign the check? It's time to sign the check. And like, I'll sign it. He says, no, but someone else needs to be signing it. I said, no, I will sign it. Hiring, you try and hire top talent and it takes the life out of you to get them to hire, right? Because honestly, it's not, they don't join you, you need to make a pitch to get them to join you, right? So hiring is a challenge. So I think it's in all aspects. I always say that women have to work 10x more harder than men have to. But there is this one thing about women which we should all play as a very strong card for ourselves, and which is the power to show up, the power to accept rejection, right? Like, if a man gets rejected, trust me, his ego is never going to allow him to walk back into that manufacturer's place, right? I got rejected so many times, but I was very sure I had to work with this one manufacturer, so I showed up every single day. And in the end of it, I remember 2 years into the mom's company, and it was this fragrance house which refused to work with us because we had very low MOQs. By the end of 2 years, he actually thought of me as his daughter. And he thought of this as his daughter who, he had 2 daughters, and he's like, my daughters never worked this hard in their lives. But you did, so I will do whatever it is in my capacity to help you succeed. Your business is minuscule in the whole sense, right? You're one of the largest fragrance house in the country. And they were like, it doesn't matter. So I think what you have is the ability to not give up and the power to show up. So just use it and just keep showing up, and trust me, the world will turn around. Like 3 years into running the company, when it was successful, it became easier to hire people. It became easier. The people who refused to work with me for manufacturing came back to me to say, we want to work with you, right? So it does change, but it's a lot upon you on whether you let the rejection impact you and just sort of lay low, or is it that you take the rejection and say, no, there's something I really want to do and solve for, and I will keep showing up to solve for it, right? And then eventually, as they say, the whole Karniyat will come together to make you succeed. And it truly will.
And of course, Payal, my next question is for you. So how do networks help women entrepreneurs? I know there's something in your organization which you did talk about, and when we met last. So would you like to elaborate on that? Like, how can we propel more towards entrepreneurship? Because I remember when I first started off, I didn't even know these networks existed.
I'll give you an example. I entered this venue, I think I was about half an hour early, and then I was listening to Taran speaking. She was giving an interview, and she just captivated me because she was talking about, regime, wellness, this, that, and I'm like, oh my God, I can relate to everything she's saying. So then I just got talking with her, gave her my business card, and I said, listen, can you do a talk for my team? So it's just a small example, but networking is so powerful. I mean, I think I'm going to add all of you on LinkedIn after this, because it's just, you never know where it takes you, and that's how it is. You'll remember on a rainy day, oh, I met this person, I met that person. I think it's also about creating your support system as you go along, because, a lot of us share so much in common. And I think, it really helps.
I love what you said about LinkedIn, and I must say, I got the best response on LinkedIn from Payal's feed. They kept tagging us, and everybody on our network kept saying, how can we register? So I totally believe that. And all of you who are sitting in the audience, some of you are like women leaders, and some people really close to my heart. I can see there are people representing brands like Kiehl's and Body Shop, and there's Sonal and Astha and Megha and all the people who are not panelists, but they are women leaders. I can see Neelu. So I can see a lot of faces which are there, and it is actually about, this whole day is actually about networking and connecting with each other. But I want everybody else's thought, like, what are the networks, how can women connect with each other, how can we propel more towards entrepreneurship, women entrepreneurship?
I think it's, it's one of the most important things to be, to come together in events like these and other networking areas, forums, because it's only when women help women that you rise together. It's not just women, I think even with men. I think it's extremely important. Your vision opens up. You know how to do. Sometimes, you get ideas, you get suggestions, and you get I think for people to succeed also, it's very, very important to be able to, how brands are also these days collaborating with each other. So imagine brands like Nike, Adidas, world brands are collaborating with each other. At that level, if collaborations are helping, you can imagine at the minutest level how a collaboration even between two people can help. It's one of the most important things for not just a businesswoman, I think even for maybe an influencer, even for a professional.
And even students.
Even for students to reach the next level, I think, to reach any level actually, from any level, networking, getting to know more people, taking help, giving help. That's the way to actually reach the next stage of development.
Last thoughts, all of you, last thoughts on this?
I just think that women are a lot shyer to ask for what they want. That's just the truth. And I think that, now because we have this digital connectivity, you can connect with any woman anywhere in the world. It's about stepping up and asking, and not to be shy. I think men are just not shy at all. When they need something, they'll go out, they'll network, they'll answer whoever. They call friend, and please connect me, please. Women don't want to do that. And what I liked, what she said is that she didn't take rejection personally. I think women tend to take rejection personally, so we just have to just stop. And that's, connect digitally if you don't want to connect in person, but connect.
If you want your business to be large, your world can't be small.
Yeah,
and that's the reason why you need to network, because the larger your circle, because you can't expect your team to be able to do that, right? Because they'll be very busy doing their own thing. So if you really want to build a really large network, it is extremely important to build very strong set of networks, because these are the people who will take you forward, right? You will get stuck, you will need answers, and you need people to reach out to give you those answers. And as she very correctly said, right, my biggest advice to all women out there is please don't hesitate to ask. There is this whole lot of women available who are very ready to help right now. So if you're feeling uncomfortable reaching out to a male counterpart for an advice because you feel judged for any reason, just reach out to a female entrepreneur. There are enough women judging women, but there are enough women supporting women as well. So just feel free to reach out to them.
Couldn't agree with both of them, so well said.
That's as simple as that.
Sheraton, we're part of EO, I'm part of YPO. I'm in 2 founder groups of 500 other startup founders. I'm on the other side of the spectrum. I turn around and ask for a lot of help constantly. Can you help me open a door? Can you help me open this? So just ask and connect and network. Today's era is all about networking. If you're not networked, you can't succeed. You really got to network and get yourself out there.
Yes. Also, I think don't give up, right? We tend to give up very easily. I think we give up more easily than men do. And failure is the biggest part of learning, of success. If you don't fail, you're not going to succeed. So I always say this, when you fall, just remember to get up 2 steps forward instead of 2 steps backwards. That's, it's easier said than done, but failure is the only way to learn and grow.
Just now, and trust me, it's just changed my world, so that is one
Start
thing.
with your toddler. then you'll learn faster how to say no.
Okay. Sustainability is a favorite word these days. It's floating around everywhere in every sphere of our lives, especially when it comes to fashion and beauty. And there are many definitions of it. For some it would mean ensure that the supply chain is clean. For some it would mean having better practices when it comes to creating clothes. For some it would mean giving the artisans the right amount of money or the money that they deserve. But for everyone, it's a different definition. So when it comes to sustainability, my first question to all of you on the panel is, what is sustainability and what it means to you? And in one line, because we are short on time. Please.
Fine.
So I think it's a word which is very loosely used today. Everybody uses the tag of sustainability. What they do behind it is really, anybody's guess. Even in fashion, even in textile. I don't even think when a customer is going and buying, and I'm not talking about going to designers, I'm saying you walk into any store and buy something which says handmade, handloom, da 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 da. How do you know it is? It probably is made in China, it has plastic in it, and has polyester. It's neither hand woven, nor is it handloom, nor is it sustainable. So really everybody is being taken for one big massive ride. You're just being sold a lot of garbage by putting the tag of sustainable. Sorry, it wasn't one line. But I had to say this because I just see it so misused as a term today. I'd love to hear what the other ladies have to say.
For me, actually, I'm audible. For me, actually, sustainability is more like it's a way of life, right? Our grandmoms, our moms have been teaching us how to be sustainable, be it by recycling the jars they used to use or reusing the clothes. So it's been there. It just become a conversation now. It's what we are talking about right now, but it's been there throughout generations.
So for me, I think it's a technical term that we repeat quite a bit at the institution, which is called hedonistic sustainability, where we want to talk about how sustainability becomes a standard of living and not a choice. It's an imperative these days, so we cannot avoid it. So we need to make sure the products and services that we do create in the future, they are a standard of living wherein a person does not have to choose them. It is a given. It's an inherent thing that you do in your daily life. So I think for me that's in a nutshell.
Anjali, what would you like to add?
So I think I'm going to follow the brief and give it to you in one line to save time.
Good.
But no, for me, sustainable is when you are able to do the same thing again and again in a very efficient way, in a way that is perfect. It's perfect, and you are able to. It lasts forever. Right. So I mean that's what it means for us, because we've been sustainable for over 100 years in the craft that we have, and we're going to go on for many 100 years from now. So I think we've been sustainable. That's why we've been able to be here today. Right. So I think it's always been there. It's just talked about today.
It's become woke now.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's woke.
Yes.
Nitya?
So for me, I think it is recycle, reuse, and relive it. That's what we do at Nitya Bajaj, and we have brought it down from a scale of, reworking, rethinking our packaging, right from packaging to reusing the scraps. That's how we actually initiated the entire procedure of recycling scraps and quilting it together to make fabric face masks. And I think it's the entire concept, as rightly said by Naina, that it has been following from our grandparents. I still recycle my grandmom's saris. I think it is something that we should all follow. It is basically recycling and reliving it.
Right, and also, even in our houses, even till today, my daddy would, if there's a t-shirt which I've decided to, to ki mummy ye de do kisi ko. So my daddy will be like, nahi, iska jharan ban sakta. At your organization, what are the steps that you're taking? I'm not going to use the word sustainable because it is something which is like a wishful thinking, especially when it comes to the fashion and both the beauty industry. But what are the steps that you're taking to ensure that the waste that is getting generated is minimal? Or if there's something else that you're doing? I'm going to start with this.
So I don't think you can think about sustainable when the product is done, and then it's only waste created out of it. So that process has to begin when you're going to weave your fabric. What is the yarn you're using? Where is it being woven? What are the conditions?
So if I may use the word literally from farm to fabric in fashion, when you're putting a label of sustainable on a fashion brand, are you really doing all of that? Or are you just saying I'm recycling and repurposing? That is not sustainable.
Let me to cutting you there. But the mere fact, this thing always amazes me. Somebody said it. to me that the mere fact that you are coming up with one extra piece of garment in the market itself means that it's not sustainable, because we don't need more clothes in this world, right?
Well, I don't agree with that. If you didn't need more clothes, you would have a room full of well-dressed women here. But no, I don't think so. I think it's the process. It's every stage of that supply chain, from the time you buy the yarn till you weave the fabric. And India, as Indians, we are sustainable, which what everybody is saying, that's who we are. Intrinsically, that's what we've grown up with. So how difficult is it to translate into our businesses? I mean, we had a very powerful panel before this, which was talking about how women can make change. And so if women don't understand the importance of the environment and the planet, I don't think men are about to do it. I really don't. I really think for us it is important. It is our duty in some way to give back. If you're giving back to your children, you are leaving a better planet for your children. You will be concerned about your children, so do it for them if you don't want to do it for yourself. But in fashion, yes, it is very possible to be sustainable from beginning to end. It is possible to recycle all your scrap. It is possible to repurpose older collections. It has to be a cyclical process. It cannot be stage-based. It cannot be just the label. It has to be from beginning to end. And you have to be willing to take back. Yes, somebody comes back to me who bought something 20 years ago and say, I want to repurpose. Can you do that? I will take it back. I will repurpose. Yes, that is part of what sustainable is. To me, it has to be in every way, including the yarn I'm using. I can't use polyester, make a garment and say it's sustainable, because when whoever's bought it throws it out, it's going to sit on a landfill for 5,000 years. So whatever I may be saying, it is completely unsustainable.
Even recycled polyester.
Even recycled polyester. So polyester, Urex, plastic, that we're all buying these saris thinking they are woven in bananas. They come from China, there's plastic in them. So, really, I think the customer is not aware enough yet. And maybe we're not creating that awareness. We're not talking about it enough, really, or following it. Talking may be one thing. Yes, everybody is talking, but are they even pursuing it? Are they following it? Do they believe in it? Like, you said it's a way of life. So way of life has to be everything you do. Not just don't waste water and don't bathe with 5 buckets, but also buy, things which are sustainable.
Right. And then if I could just jump to you in beauty space.
So I'll talk about the beauty space, because we have all fashion brands here. So, there is a fact that the beauty industry contributes 120 billion of plastic pollution. Right, which makes it which 70% of the landfills itself. So the beauty industry is responsible for so much. So we, as a clean beauty marketplace, I talk about my brand here, we are trying to just disrupt that in a way. We are trying to be sustainable from the core of it by bringing products which are clean. And when I say clean, it means created using non-toxic and safe ingredients that are not harming the marine life, that are not harming the environment in any way. To the manufacturing methods used by the brand owners, which include small batch production, so there's no spillage, right? There are no mass productions happening. To the packaging, which is eco-friendly, which is plastic-free, and free of all those bubble wraps and all the waste that goes into it. To recycling, or the empties that we use, right? It's the product empties that we get from our customers and recycle them and just give them back a brand new product out of it. So these are some of the initiatives that we are taking at Vanity, and I feel we are trying to create some impact in some way here. And I feel if all of us come together and do this bit also, it will be massive, in terms of sustainability. So yeah, that's right.
Akshara, both Payal and Nina pointed out that, you said it as clear as it is, that the customer needs to be informed, the customer needs to perhaps make better demands, need to ask for more, ask the designer or the beauty brand, better questions. How can we do that with the help of education? What more steps can be taken to achieve that?
So I think education, any which way, is a foundation to any discipline that you study or what you do. And education does not come with only structured learning, but also out of the experiences that you have as you proceed in life. One thing that Deloitte did a report on was that 48% of people don't understand what sustainability is. So if you don't understand something, how are you ever going to follow it? So at least with education or with academic learning, what we can do is initiate a conversation with these young designers who go on and have their own clientele, who actually understand the importance of producing sustainable output with whatever discipline that they're studying. It's also important to understand this concept called humanity-centric design, where most designers work on human-centric design. We forget to involve other stakeholders of the ecosystem, which in a way is sustainability, right? So as designers, you need to start producing things that are more humanity-centric. As buyers, you have to be more conscious of what you're buying, how much you're buying, and how can you avoid buying, because as you rightly put, sustainability, you can never be 100% sustainability. It's a paradox. The first question that you ask yourself in sustainability is, do I need this? Do we need more product? No. So what we have to understand and acknowledge is how sustainable are you? And how sustainable are your efforts? It will never be 100%. It would be a 40% the first time. You can increase that to 45% once you know it's 40% the first time. So just awareness, general learning, general understanding, being observant is what you can have. Of course, academic learning is always there to help.
And Angelique, I know at OBT you guys work very closely with the carpet weavers, with the artists, the traditional artisans. It's regularly you're churning out collections which are about the traditional crafts of India also. I want to understand from you, what steps are you taking in that space to further those efforts?
So, taking off from what Payal was talking about, right from the designing and the planning of the product. So when you're planning product, there are a couple of elements. One is the materials and the choice of materials and all of that. The other thing is the craft, right, and this traditional hand knotting. But more than that, the whole process in terms of, how much water we use, how we can, save, like we have introduced a machine just for washing the carpets that saved almost 90% of water. So 10 years ago, 90% more water was being used to do the same thing. Or let's say, we have husk for fuel, for energy, all our water gets into an effluent plant, so it goes back into irrigation. So all the resources that we are kind of using to create the product, I think we try to, sort of generate that and make sure that it is not a wasted resource. And more than that, I think, when you're talking about sustainability, we're talking about how we also sort of ensure that the craftsmen are being able to learn and retain that craft within their own premises. I think for them to move out, to go somewhere else, to do something different, it's too much of a change for them. So I think for us, we feel that, okay, just letting them be at their space and doing it the same way is a sustenance for them. They're still there and they're able to, be in a happy space. So I think from, the dyes, the vegetable dyes to the choice of video, I think we're pretty much doing most of the things we can do today. Today, thanks to COVID, we do a lot of Zoom calls, so we're not taking that many aeroplanes. I mean, we used to fly to San Francisco, do one meeting, come back, and then we're all guilty about, oh my God, did we really need to do that? I mean, we've emitted so much of C2, but today it's different. So, yeah, we're trying to do different things. So.
Right. And Nitya, you tell me, I mean, in this fashion world, every season a designer has to come out with a collection, right? So how do you deal with that pressure while trying to stay as green as possible?
See, to be honest, as Akshara rightly put, it's a paradox. It's not that we can go 100% sustainable, to be honest. We would all aim to be like Payal, where we begin with yarns and, go into the entire procedure. We are trying, at each step we are trying. So at Nitya Bajaj, we began with the first step of no plastic, using biodegradable materials for packaging. We used to have 7 layers of packaging. I love my packaging. But then I realized that, what am I doing? It's not right. So we got rid of plastic. We started using the recycled paper instead of chemical dyes. We ended up using vegetable dyes done by hand block printing. Yes, the procedure is expensive. Yes, it is time taking. It involves more manpower. But I think by the end of the day, you're making a change. And I think these little steps, as Nera put, small steps, we can begin by taking these minute steps, like basically packaging. Like at my workplace, we reuse and upcycle the scraps by actually using those scrap materials to make floor pillows for our artisans to sit. We recycle the scraps, excess fabrics, to actually make covers for our garments. We recycle scraps, and during the pandemic we ended up quilting them, juxtaposing them together, making them pretty looking fabric masks, because at that time we did have shortage of medical supplies, and we had to join MSME to bring up these fabric masks for the underprivileged, for people who did not have access to them. So we use those techniques of recycling, upcycling. So I think these are little changes we did at our end, and obviously providing them good ethical working conditions, very important. Yes, as rightly put, using less energy sources, because by the end of the day, that's how you weigh it, that how sustainable were you, like how much energy you could save.
Right.
So I think at my level, I tried by doing these little steps, and yes, we are getting there. I'm not saying that we are 100% sustainable yet, but yes, we are working towards it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, technology has definitely helped.
Yes, absolutely.
Helped us, as the industry accelerate towards making some corrections here and there, and also smart thinking. Could you guys give me an example of how you have utilized technology to ensure that you're, can I use the word cleaner, to ensure that your practices are cleaner, and the challenges that you're still continuing to face? So 2 questions there.
So I think COVID gave everybody a time to pause, and so you really had to reorient the way you functioned.
Right.
So you came up with more efficient solutions. I mean, travel, you could cut down carbon footprint by reducing travel, doing Zoom. That was definitely a big one. We did a lot of work internally in skill building and we increased a massive amount of women artisans. So traditionally in India, the garment business, and not the export, but the design business, is all men. The tailors are all men, the embroiderers are men, and the women never get a chance, although they're equally talented. Maybe they're a little bit slower, they just need a little more push, a little more nudge. So we brought in a lot of women because they desperately needed jobs at that point. And they have stayed on, they've become a very large part of the workforce for us. The timings, we've been able to have shorter days and more efficiency, so we've been able to recycle our back end. So a lot of learning. I think, from a sustainable point of view, if you're thinking that, and that is a philosophy that you choose to follow. So again, coming back to what Naina said, there has to be a way of life, then that will come into everything you do.
Right.
So be it your time usage, your material usage, your resource usage, your energy usage. So we recycle water. I mean, all of the energy is, of course, the most basic thing that you can do in a premises. But beyond that, there's a lot more. So no plastic. No, I haven't used plastic for 10 years. I can't remember the last time we used plastic. But fashion is one of the biggest offenders, and puts the maximum amount of plastic onto the planet.
Yes.
So if just all designers in the country stop using plastic, let me tell you, that'll be a huge jump for us.
But that will also, it will ensure that you get a burn, like your pocket is much lighter. So it's all, it is about, it's a business after all, and you need to...
No, but packaging, you don't have to package in plastic.
Yes.
Amazon keeps sending everything in plastic. I keep writing these stickers and saying, don't send me plastic. They keep sending plastic, they keep sending paper, and they keep sending cartons. So it's just about using
Little
things
changes.
and recycling. Why can't we just recycle? All your scrap can make bags, can make packaging, exactly what you said.
Right.
So you don't need plastic and paper. You
Maybe
really
we
don't.
should
You
ask
put
for
your mind
them
to
to
it.
pay for packaging.
I'm telling
Then
you.
maybe they won't. Like when you go shopping in some areas, do you want the shopping bag? Then you have to pay for it. And then you think, do I need it?
No,
Okay,
but
I'll
now,
just put it in my bag.
in Bhutan, they will not give you anything, and you have to bring your own bag.
Exactly,
And
that's what I'm
they've been
saying.
doing for, I don't know, 20 years Bhutan has been doing it. So if a country can do it,
Yeah.
certainly an industry can do it.
Yeah, और हम लोग बहुत ढीठ हैं basically.
Love plastic and more plastic. So what can you do?
Naina, you tell me, how are you using technology?
So as a digital first company, of course, technology has helped us in terms of the billing. We try and keep our billing strictly digital. So it's all online through emails. There is no wastage of paper happening, right? Apart from that, of course, the waste management, we have partnered with a waste management company that helps us recycle all the plastic we consume over the year. More than that, in fact, double the amount we consume. So that is also because of technology, right? That is technology that has helped us do that. There is technology that has helping us innovate new products which have refillable packaging, right? With their makeup brands coming up with refillable, what do you call them? The bars and pallets and containers. So it's all technology innovation, and I think, and there's a lot far we can go with in terms of electric vehicles being used for delivery and shipping, and automated systems and AI, robotics. There's a lot that we can explore with technological automation. So yeah, there's as I said, a long way to go. And
actually, I have a different question for you. I mean, I would assume that a lot of students are now post-millennials. They are digital first, they are digital natives. They are more aware of the word sustainable. They've been brought up in an environment where the word plastic is sort of poison, is understood as poison. Do you still feel that there is still a gap in making them understand that, you need to make better choices, you need to make smarter choices? This is just for the post-millennials, the Gen Zers that I'm asking about.
I don't think, because there's still a lot of gap in understanding what sustainability means, like I said, because the society that we live in, of course, constantly influences their options and decisions.
Right.
So even if at an academic level we harp about being whatever percentage sustainable you can be, but the society is still influencing it the other way around. So there is still a long way to sort of bridge that gap for them as well, and I'm sorry to say that on a platform, but still the Gen Z has a lot of things to learn. They're digital first, which means that they have access to sophisticated technology, which is a great thing. Because now we're talking about 3D printers, we're talking about data-driven homes, we're talking about data points to produce a very specific kind of a product that the client requires,
right.
Which means that there is no hit and trial method right now that they would employ in their designing process.
Right.
So I feel the good thing about Gen Z is that their access to technology and sophisticated technology will help them design better, reduce waste eventually, but still there is still a long way to go in terms of understanding and adopting it completely.
Right, and it's funny that you mentioned about the influencers bit. I see on my Instagram, and I also follow a lot of influencers who do talk about doing responsible fashion, or doing green fashion or whatever. And every Thursday of the week they will have, maine ye kharida, and you should buy this too. So it's just we are inundated with information where it's just everything is contradictory. Yes. People would say something today and tomorrow it's a different story altogether. And I mean, it's funny, I don't know why I was saying.
Also, I feel bridging the gap between understanding sustainability and buying another issue in fashion being fast fashion.
Right.
It's like people who know sustainability, they talk about sustainability, but by the end of the day, they see the fast fashion and they fall for it. So it's a huge gap between actual purchasing of sustainability and talking about sustainability.
Right. Sorry,
I had a little takeaway, Paksha. I was going to say, why don't you make your campuses plastic free? They have massive number of students in massive campuses. If you just make them plastic free, everybody will get the message and they'll all follow it.
So we have a plastic free campus.
All of them?
All of them, most of them. Of course, the tier 3 cities, which are like tier 2 and tier 3 cities, are a little tricky. But at least the metropolitan ones are, because we don't have any plastic cups or glasses. Each student gets their own bottle. The bags that they get are made out of recyclable material. We don't have any prospectus or brochures given to them. It's all digitally downloaded. All assignments happen online as well.
Lovely. But maybe you're just not talking about it. Maybe you should say so.
Yeah.
That should be your first line. So everybody should know that they are in a plastic-free campus.
I think we've been doing it for a while, that it just becomes, like I said, a way of life. So it just doesn't come to us as much. But yes, for tier 2 and tier 3, we are working hard towards it. There's a little bit of a hesitance, but of course.
That's a lovely initiative. Angelique.
So, technology really helped us. COVID pushed us to it, because we couldn't really be physically present in so many places. So we came up with a lot of computer graphics. So we would make samples as much as I'm going to say another company exports. So we were always talking about the amount of samples we make is another person's revenue. So during this time, we were able to work with the same clients, just showing them beautiful imagery on the computers. They accepted it because there was no other way, there was no way to get the product. And today that has really reduced. So technology, we've been able to use technology in such a way that so much of waste has been avoided now. So I think that really helped us during this time. And like, we talked about less planes, less moving around, all of that, yes. I think it's been okay.
And Nitya, what?
I think it would be again paper free. All the billings, invoices, everything is digital. Obviously reaching out via social media. Also electric transportation, be it in terms of supply chain. And I also feel the newer machinery which has been introduced, which is also, it sucks carbon and carbon dioxide. So that machinery actually can be utilized. Maybe the energy could be diverted, just a thought, but maybe it could be diverted for something more like a better energy source. So that could be worked. But yes, at the moment, minute changes, as I said. It's a difficult concept to grab in, especially for your artisans. You have to work towards it.
One of the things Anjali said actually is, most business is happening electronically.
Yes,
Gone are the days you have to fly here, fly there, do this fashion week, the other. At least your regular buyers can do it all on online.
And before they wanted to see 10 options of a physical sample before they could decide.
If you have a longevity, then you really don't need to waste a lot of time and energy over.
And because you could do it then, there's no reason why you can't do it now.
So I think everybody has learned that.
Yes.
They have learned, you have learned, so you just have a more efficient way of working.
Okay, Shraddha is already looking at me and she seems angry. I'm just going to ask the last question.
I'm the real villain.
I'm going to ask the last question and then we can wrap this up. Again, question to all of you. What is the biggest challenge, do you think, right now for the design and the fashion industry when it comes to cleaning up their act? You can, I want it from your personal experience rather than in general. What do you guys
think it's a mindset.
Yeah, education.
It's just your mindset. If you
I think
believe it, you'll do
educating
it.
them.
If you don't believe it, how are you going to do it?
Yeah.
If you believe you can get to the moon, so what is this? I think it's thought process. Most people don't think they can do it.
People can't survive without buying new clothes?
No, people can't. People can survive without buying. So do you really need it? Do you want to? No, I'm not saying they don't have to buy new clothes, but those new clothes don't have to be made out of things which are unsustainable. See, if you're using natural yarns, and they are sustainable, so why won't you buy them? It supports a very large segment of the society. What will happen to the weavers? They'll all die. So you can't stop buying clothes. Please don't do that. Please, there are a lot of people, but if you decide, and this I'm only saying from an entrepreneurial point of view, that if you decide to make your businesses and your enterprises sustainable, you can. That does not mean you have to stop doing business. No, you just have to think of doing business differently. So if you believe it, you will do it. If you don't understand the need for it, then how will you do it?
Yeah, that's a very valid point. Yes. Naina?
I feel as all of them said that education is very important. Unless we are aware of why sustainability needs to be practiced, we cannot be sustainable. We cannot ask anybody to be sustainable unless we tell them why you need to be sustainable, what is the reason behind it, what is climate crisis, why are we doing all of this, why do we want to make these changes. There is no point at all. So I feel education, having these conversations that we are having right now is important and is the key to making sustainability the future.
Right. Akshay. And a lot of people do say that, climate change is not something that should concern us.
But we are all witnessing it, but it's
just like a trend.
Do you need to be told there's a climate crisis? Don't we all see it?
We are feeling it already.
People are not, how can people?
I don't know, they just shut their eyes to it.
Okay, Akshara.
I think simply it's the denial from the general audience point of view that choosing the sustainable option would have a higher opportunity cost, which is incorrect in the longer run. So once we understand opportunity cost and our decisions that lead to that, I think we'd be better judges of our future.
Nice answer.
I think lack of information.
Yes, lack of information.
I don't think we know enough or people know enough, and I think there needs to be more out there.
Right. Same.
I think we should close it.
So guys, please buy smart.
Yes.
and buy when
Don't
you...
stop buying. That's the
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
So we have the Global Mentoring Walk coming up.